How was your weekend? It's a Monday. It was my son's birthday yesterday. He didn't have a big party with his friends like he usually does. We just had the grandparents over. We got my mother-in-law out of her assisted living facility and on Saturday. And he has his surgery this coming Thursday. If you haven't seen any of my previous videos, he's having surgery on his ACL. He tore it. It was just when he was having fun with his friends. It wasn't even, you know, like a tournament or a game or anything that counted. It definitely was an accident, but I'm a little bit mad at his friend that did it because he didn't have to play so rough, especially when it was just a fun pickup game. I still like this friend of his. He's always been one of my favorites, but the thing that makes me mad too, like I can forgive an accident, but I don't know, he plays rough like this with other people. Tryouts for the high school team were this past week, and he was really looking forward to playing soccer his senior year at his high school, and now he can't do that. So it's like, this is a big thing that he can't, you know, that he got hurt. So if any of you are praying people, pray for that. We have a great doctor. The doctor, I shopped around for doctors. We had to drive an hour just to see this person. This person has operated on people on the Commanders. So I figure if he's good enough to work on the Commanders and get them back up, do knee surgery where they're back to doing sports, I trust him. Linda McMann got confirmed for Education Secretary. We will see what happens with that. I don't know, I have mixed feelings about the Department of Education going away, but I really think it's redundant because mostly what affects you in your day-to-day life is your state Department of Education. So for me, it's my Virginia Department of Education. For Cindy, it's the New Hampshire Department of Education. Although if you're not in public school, it might not affect you as much. And the good thing is, if you don't like something that they're doing, it is so much easier at the state level to go and advocate, to go to your local school board, to go advocate for your local Department of Education that you want something done, that it is to do it at the federal level, which, you know, represents everybody in the whole United States. Now, my only concern, or not my only concern, one of my concerns though, is that now the federal government is still going to give money to the states, and the states decide how to allocate it. And there are some states that I'm afraid will not be wise with how they spend this money without the oversight, and that is one of my biggest concerns. A lot of cuts going on in the government, which is, I know personally know a lot of government workers, so it's been rough. I agree with cutting out government wasteful spending, and you know, they've noticed there's a lot of wasteful spending. Like, why did Chelsea Clinton get $83 million and $3 million of it went to her wedding? What was that all about? But what I don't agree with just how fast and quickly they're just cutting every single person. And I was talking to someone who used to work for the government, and it takes months, up to a year, maybe 2 years if you're talking about some kind of agency like the FBI or CIA or something like that, to get a clearance. So I know they cut everybody who'd been working under a year. Let's say that person waited a whole year to get a background check before they could even start. And then they start and they were into like month 11. So I guess I don't totally agree with how it's being done. I'm also almost done. I have a few more months with my master's program to make me certified to teach early childhood special education. I will be so glad when it's finished because it will free up some time. I'll be able to concentrate on this YouTube channel again. If you've seen, I'm reposting some of my videos from my OutSchool Flex classes. I figure I already did these videos, why not? People could learn something from it, especially with everything that's going on in the news, you know, and some Americans couldn't pass the basic citizenship test. I had Lucy from the Brick Girls comment like, oh, I remember all these questions from my citizenship test. I guarantee you the majority of Americans couldn't pass the citizenship test. Does most of the IEP funding come from federal money? So special education, what happens is the Department of Education gives money to the states for special education and then oversees how that money is used. What would change is that the money would still be given to the states, and then the states oversee the money and decide how it will be used. Okay, so some states might not do very well with how they spend the money, and they won't have the oversight for the government. But like I was saying earlier, the good thing is you, the citizen, it will be easier to go advocate at your local and state level and vote out the people. Start writing all your politicians. I would start with the local level, your state representatives, your state senators. Cindy, who's watching here, she is a state representative. I'll read your comment. I live in Florida and they are doing some terrible things here. I've heard, tell me some of the things that they're doing or not doing. I've heard the school systems are not very good in Florida. I think the problem is that, sorry, but there's a bunch of older people in Florida and they are voting on, and all the tax dollars are going to things like Social Security and not the school system. So tell me, because I have thought about in the future moving to Florida. I've definitely thought about it. I've even looked into what teachers make in different counties, but it's like all states. It depends what county you're in. And if I move somewhere where teachers don't get paid, well, guess what? I'm going to do something else. People think teacher pay doesn't matter. It does. I'm a second career teacher. I will go back to my first career if teaching doesn't pay well and do something else. It's that simple. I saw a video yesterday and the title was like, girl finishes college and can't read. Like, how did she, first of all, even if she was able to keep passing through the school systems, because with No Child Left Behind, like, nobody can fail anymore. But even if that was the case, like, how could she have written papers that she was able to pass through college with and stuff like that without not being able to read and write? And then the video seemed to be blaming the school system, but hello, starting with your kid in preschool or even younger, you should start by reading books to them. You should start by helping them. When my own daughter started struggling in school, I went to the teachers and said, what can I do? What can I do at home? And doing that along with what they were doing in school. Not only that, you might live in a crappy school system and that sucks, but you could pull your kid out and put them into private school. You could homeschool if you don't have the money for those things, and public school is your only choice. Be your child's biggest advocate. Make sure you're keeping in touch, emailing the teachers, asking what you can do, doing your best, having parent-teacher conferences. So as much as yes, the school, what school system, what teachers do, it all makes a huge difference, absolutely. But each year your child's going to get a new teacher. You might move and be in a different school system. It is still up to you ultimately as the parent to make sure that your kid is learning what they need to learn, doing what they need to do, doing the best, sacrificing if you have to. I know many people, there's a perception that all people who send their kids to private school are rich. Well, that's not true. I know a lot of people are just middle class and sacrifice. Cindy, I know you're not rich. Your kids go to private school. You work at a private school just so that your kids can go there. Those are the types of sacrifices I'm talking about, that parents, that you ultimately, as the parent, it's responsibility to do so that you can do the best thing for your kid. So I guess I do think it's ultimately up to the parent. In my state of Virginia, in the last governor's race, which was 3 years ago, the one governor, a senator who was running, he did not win the election because he was publicly saying parents don't have the right to say what their kids do in a school. Yes, we do. I don't think that you should individually tell an individual teacher how to run their classroom. I've heard of parents doing that. That is not what you should be doing, and that's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about you do have a say in the curriculum. You should be able to vote. You should be able to voice your opinions and your concerns and be involved. That's what I'm talking about. And when he said that, guess what? The other person, Governor Youngkin, who is our governor now, he won the election because he was very much into parents should have a say. And this was during the time when, like, there were some people who were going to school boards and being called domestic terrorists because they were just advocating or trying to talk about what was going on in the school system, and they were being shut down. This is Bennett. The balance sheets at our school would say otherwise. Maybe not in your state, but here it's not working properly. And you're in Florida. There simply aren't enough resources. School choice is not hurting public school. You say, and school choice has gutted our public funding. I live in Florida and they are doing some terrible, okay. So here's the thing. Choices and competition have always been good. Think about this. There's a reason monopolies are illegal, because monopolies hurt. Having one company have control over all parts of a business does hurt. And you say, like, let's say you try to fix the schools in Florida. It's going to take a few years before they get fixed, trying to implement new strategies and implement new things. So in the meantime, during those few years that you're trying to change things, those children will get lost in the shuffle. They will not get the best education. They will go on and graduate and move on to college, and that's not really fair. I don't know the specifics of what's going on with school choice in Florida. You can tell me. But what if it was a compromise? What if it was like half? What if, let's say, it takes $20,000 to educate a child, but you did like 10,000 stays in the public school and 10,000 goes to the parents to choose a private school or homeschool? What if we compromise like that? Because while we're implementing the changes and making the changes and trying to make things better, which you can still do even with school choice, during the meantime, those children are not getting the best education. And that is what I think is the sad part. So anyways, I hope you don't leave just because we disagree on one thing, but that's my 2 cents about it. I feel like there should, I think it's a good thing, and we can still try and improve the public schools while we're at it. Or maybe if there's a successful private school in Florida, look at what they're doing and how they're being successful, and how can we take some things from it and implement them into our public schools. I would prefer my tax dollars to go to subsidize business I would prefer my tax dollars not go to subsidize business at the expense of public schools. We can't be angry or leave when we disagree. It solves nothing. I agree that we need to keep making the public schools better and keep advocating and doing what you can. I'm just saying, in the meantime of this happening, there are going to be children lost in the shuffle, and that's not fair to them. And you know what? I can't speak for every private school. I don't know the business behind it, But I do know I used to work at a private school. They don't make a lot of money. At least the school I worked at, they don't, after they pay the teachers, which is usually not a lot at a private school, it's a lot less than the public school in most cases. Let me know. Anyone, let me know if you get paid more at a private school than a public school. Let me know. But usually it's a lot less. And it's not like they're making money. Most of it goes back into the schools, or just enough to make like a little bit. I mean, they have to make some profit. They're doing the work. And the private school I worked at, when they had a surplus, they gave us teachers a bonus at Christmas time, which was nice. Wasn't expected, wasn't something I'd gotten the year before. I only worked there for a year and a half, but so it's not something every year, but when they did have a surplus, they gave it to us. So in my experience, private schools are more run like nonprofits, even if they're technically not nonprofits. And some of them are nonprofits, some of them put all the money back into, but that hasn't been my experience, that you're like giving to like a corporate business when you're giving to a private school. Or what if you allowed parents to use it for homeschooling? There's a lot you have to buy for homeschooling. There's curriculum, and sometimes people supplement with classes like OutSchool, or a lot of people use online programs that cost money, or stuff like that. It's a business, obviously, are making money or they don't continue to run. Yeah, I agree. They definitely have to make money or they couldn't run, for sure. I'm just saying, I don't think they make a lot. I don't think they have this huge like surplus at the end of the day. At least you can't speak for every single private school, of course. I'm sure there are some out there that do, but the majority, and if anybody works for a private school and knows the business behind it, let me know. Are there private schools that make a ton of money? Let me know. I really don't know, but I'm just saying my experience from the one that I worked at. I know didn't really make a lot of money. So definitely a conversation we should continue to have, and we need to improve our schools no matter how that is, and we all have different ideas of how that should be done, and all of us live in different school systems, some better than others. I'm actually pretty happy where I live, and my son's a senior, so I'm about to be out of all of it, although I still work in a different county than where my son goes. But I think we should just continue to have this conversation and try to do what we can to improve education. But thanks for those of you who came live and those who will watch later. And thanks. Even if you have a different opinion than me, I like hearing your opinions. I think it's good to discuss it and figure out. And I see Cindy said something. I want to see what you're saying. I'm almost, no, I'm not too subject. We also save the public school by keeping kids out of the public schools and class sizes are smaller. True. I did a video of why quit teaching private school. And yeah, and I gave some advantages of private school, and one of them was that the class sizes are smaller. All right, guys, I'll see you later. I'm almost to work. Bye.